Hello, and welcome to another wonderful episode of me working puzzles. Friggin' puzzles. Okay, so this is going to be designed a hell of a lot better when I'm actually in the game. But this is kind of inspired by like Myst in games like that. So we need a way to point and click at these controls. This one here spins and controls X, Y, and Z axis, which will be obvious in a moment. This set of 4 blocks controls the speed or distance that these black blocks will move, and this button just moves them. Okay, so I'll get into that right now and I'll show you me solving this puzzle, and it will kind of be a little bit more obvious there. So these black blocks will be moved via these controls, and they'll light up when and where, sorry. They'll light up when I've solved each one. So I'll just do that now. So we'll move this guy up first. So we've chosen the speed there, chosen the Z-axis, and now we'll move it. Ding, 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 bing. He's solved. Let's move the next one. Ding, we've solved it. And the last one, I wonder what will happen when we solve it. Ding, we get an object. Fantastic. It just goes, and then we're there. So let's pick this guy up. And incidentally, that could have been a rock, it could have been a tree, it could have been anything really. But I made it the pickup object for this other puzzle, which is in a previous video. So spoilers, bang, you can solve that. So if you solve one, you solve another. That's game design. That's good game design. Okay, so how the hell does this thing work? Well, let's find out. So let's look at the controller first of all. So this wheel spins. Now what happens is, it's got a little block on the side, and when it spins to the down position, it collides with a collision called X switch rotator. There's another one called Y switch, and another one called Z switch. So just remember these 3 actors here that are all just actors with box collisions in them. So when you spin this, it will know that it's collided with this, this, or this. So when we go into the game, if you have a look at my debug log up here, it will give you some results. X is to move, so that means the X-axis. You can move blocks on the X-axis. Y is to move, and X is not to move. Let's do that one again. So it will tell you which ones are and which ones aren't. So that's that, that's how that works. This button here, this actor, all this is just a game object with a static mesh in it. That's literally it. It doesn't have collision or anything like that, it's just an empty thing with this mesh in it. That has something in my level blueprint that says when you click it, okay? So it's called a click event, which is obviously when we got a little arrow up. So I'll come to that later, I'll come to click events later, because that's the main mechanic of how this thing works. Then I got 3 more box collisions, which is exactly the same kind of thing as this, apart from these are just called speed 1, speed 2, and speed 3. And they set speed variables or distance variables. One's 10, one's 20, and one's 100, I think. So that's just how many units these will move. And this little guy here, the move block distance, is another actor. Exactly the same as the button here. When I'm clicked, I'm going to move up. When I'm clicked again, I'll move up again. When I'm clicked again, I'll move up again. And if I've been clicked more than 3 times, I will rotate myself 180 degrees. So that up is down and down is up. And then I'll just reset my number of times clicked to 0, and then when I move down, 3 times, I'll do exactly the same thing again. So I'll register as being clicked no times, and I'll rotate 180 degrees, so I can start moving up. If that's a little confusing, don't worry, I'll get into that in some more detail later. But basically this guy has a on-click event, exactly the same as the button, and the same as this guy. So these 3 things all know when they've been clicked. And they just move accordingly. And the collision is triggered, and the collision affects everything else, like these blocks here. the way this puzzle solves is when this block is moved into here, change the material of this block and then make sure that I can't move it again. And then there's some logic somewhere that says when all three of these have changed all three of these as a material, when they're all glowing, spawn an item in the middle. So that's a very quick overview of how that works. Now, what I will do is break it down in two parts. First part, I will show you how the puzzle spawns it in and wins, and then I'll show you the more complicated version of how these controls work. So let's get right into this. So we've got 3 blocks, okay? Boom, boom, boom. Oops. These guys here. Okay, so what do these blocks contain? They have a static mesh of a cube. That's pretty much it. And they have an event graph. Lovely, lovely event graphs. So, let's get into this. So, when this collides with something that has a tag, puzzle hole, I want you to fire the if statement is true, and I want you to... I can actually... Sorry, this was for something else. That's a lot better. Okay, sorry. Apologies on that. So, I want you to check if this black cube, yeah, has collided with something that is tagged as puzzle hole. Fire a true statement, and I want you to change the tag of this puzzle block, and I also want you to fire an event dispatcher called puzzle X locked, which means it's in the right place, it's solved, and I want you to change its material to this one here, angel glow material. So that's the kind of yellow glow that you saw. Okay, so the puzzle hole, the thing it collides with to make all of this happen, is this guy here, which is again another actor. And as usual, the only thing that this guy contains, oops, because I'm losing my mind, you know, is just a box collision, okay? It just contains a box collision. But it does have the tag puzzle hole. There it is, right here. So when this collides with this, it checks this guy's tag. And it's puzzle hole. It is, there it is, woo! We can add tags just by clicking plus as well, just so you can manage them. And you're thinking, okay, so it's tagged as true, that's happened, you know, it's overlapped it with the puzzle hole, I've checked it, it does have the tag. I've changed the material of this static mesh, which is this here. I just sort of dragged it in, put it there. Because this static mesh here is literally this guy. Okay, so change the material of this black block here and fire this event. And this event can be called in the level blueprint, which we'll go into in a little while. Which means you've X done, you've solved the puzzle on one of the blocks, this one at least. You're thinking, well, why, what the hell's this thing that I've conveniently skipped? Well, in the level blueprint, I say you can move blocks that are tagged as certain things, yeah? So what I'm doing here is I'm changing the tag of the things that I'm overlapping with, so that once I move it and it goes into where it's supposed to be, it means if I mess about with the controls again, it's not going to move the block out of where it's supposed to be and de-solve the puzzle. Because I'm moving these based on tags. So I'm basically saying, no, once it's in there, it's not tagged anymore, and you can't move it. I'm yet to reference this in the level blueprint, so currently you can still move them once they've been set to a glowing material or locked or solved or whatever. But I will, this basically just resets all tags. So I'll get that working at some point, but for this example it doesn't need to be fully functioning. It's just worth mentioning that's what this little array is, just in case it was confusing you. You don't have to have it. But it's nice in terms of making sure players don't do stupid things, because we all know from game design, players do really, really stupid things. Like, hey, I'm just going to jump off the edge of the world and break your collision. Oh, your game sucks. Thanks for that, buddy. That's nice. Genius. Excuse me. Okay, so probably very obvious I'm not official in these anymore. Okay, so this event dispatcher fires. Okay, puzzle X locked, and we've got exactly the same thing on puzzle Y and puzzle Z. So let's find that logic. Ba-ba-da-ba-ba. Here we are. Okay, so you got 3, obviously, because you've got 3 axes that you're moving these blocks on. Let's do this one. X. Puzzle X fires. So when you do all this and it collides with the correct thing, fires this guy, and this guy sets a variable called puzzle X solved in my level blueprint. Remember, all the logic for all the game is here. And it'll go, yeah, I'm true. And it goes, okay, that's fine. And when you solve the other ones, they go, yeah, I'm true. Yeah, I'm true too. Cool, you're all true. You're all shining stars. Well done. I've got an AND statement that says if all of them are true, at some point, I want you to fire this if statement and go da 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 da, you win! Woo! Well done, guys. You've solved the puzzle, and after 1.5 seconds, I want you to spawn in an actor at the location, which in this case was like right here. It's just a vector 3, it's just X, Y, and Z, the world location, yeah? It's not dynamic or special, I just knew where that was. And you go, hey, get my pickup actor, spawn it there. And then that's it. Oh, and I also tried to set the material of that to a glowing rock 7. You know, that kind of purple glowing rock that was on it? I'm setting that material there. But actually, let's not do that. Let's just spawn it, okay? So, and that's it, just checks these 3 variables. All of them have to be true for this to fire and go you in. If one of these is wrong, this Boolean AND will not work. It won't work, it won't give us a true result, it will return false into here. And they'll also go false, what do you want to do? Nothing, absolutely nothing. I did have it where, and I'm keeping this in case I change the puzzle, it's always nice to keep blueprints kind of flexible. Similar to the gate control, I would have said, I did initially want it to be, if you got one of them wrong at any point, it would reset the puzzle. So that's what this does, it just, if it returns false, this was going to plug in there, and it was going to reset all of these variables to false, and it was going to move the blocks back to their original position. But I'm kind of putting a pin in that idea, and we would sort of say, try again. But I put a pin in that idea, this is just me leaving this in here for a note. So at the minute you can just solve it for the sake of just making sure it works. Okay, so that is basically that logic working. That's how that works, okay? Now, you might think, well, why does only one block move on the X and one move on the Y? Why don't all of these blocks, when I set the controls to move Z-axes and set the speed, why don't all of these things move up? Why is it just this guy? Why does just this guy move back to front? And why does only this block move left to right? Like, what constraints are in place? Well, I will show you, because I'm nice like that, you know? Okay, so if we go back onto our puzzle piece here, this guy, you can see when I made this static mesh, I just dragged it in from Blender, you have all these presets that are in Unreal Engine. You know, these are always here for every single mesh. You can do this for anything, yeah? It says lock constraints, lock position, enable gravity. I don't want that. So lock position. I've locked it on the Y and the Z, which means no matter what happens in this game whatsoever, whether I'm using gravity, whether I'm dragging it around, whether stuff's exploding, you know, tearing the world apart, I've made my own hurricane or something, whatever it is, this object is only ever going to move on the X-axis, because I've locked Y and Z. If I untick these, compile and save again, and it decides to do that now, really, you will now see this here will move up with the other block. So let's just do that now. Yep. See, they both move. And then it will try and move that way when I hit the X. Because I've just unlocked it, so it'll move in all directions. But I don't want that. It's my puzzle, my little puzzle piece X. My little guy, my shining star. So I just basically want to move it on the X, that's it. I'm feeling really weird today. Okay, so... And as you've probably guessed, the other ones are locked on everything but the Z and everything but the Y. So I just, no matter how many of these I drag into the world, I know that all of the X's are going to move on the X and all the Y's are going to move on the Y because I've locked them. So that's, I think that's basically everything you'll need to know for the logic of how to win the puzzle and spawn in the object. I may have glossed over the spawning a little bit when I said earlier in my level blueprint that I knew where that location was. Kind of just realised that now, so I'll go back. It was here, so it was when you win the puzzle. Yay. I want you to load a pickup object in a 3100X, 3600Y, and 180Z. That is basically here. If you drag in an object to where you want it to spawn, you can just copy its location here and paste that into here. Yeah? And that's just basically how I worked it out. It's a world location. It's not attached to any object or anything. It's not relative. Okay, so that's the first part. I'll end the video now because I've just rabbited on like a madman for 15 minutes. And I will show you how the controls are set up. Because with the controls like this, because they're sort of, it's not real world mechanics, it's digital, you can do anything you want, okay? And this is how games like Myst are kind of built. So I'll go over that in the next video. Thanks for bearing with my insanity. All right, see you in the next one.